The Apartheid by Tamika Tart. The Apartheid is referred to as a policy or system of segregation or discrimination on the basis of race in South Africa. Although segregation and discrimination were a part of history's predicament before the apartheid, it was recorded from 1948 through 1994. White advocates claimed that separate places to live, separate education, and separate amenities would be better for black and white people. I will discuss the different types of apartheid, important roles of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, changes in the labor markets during the apartheid, and the forgotten fighter against racism and the apartheid. Two types of apartheid are mentioned in the article. All is not forgiven. South Africa and the scars of apartheid. Petty apartheid was enforced through laws and regulations that segregation public facilities like benches and drinking fountains. Grand apartheid dictated where blacks and whites could live and the type of jobs they could have and when they could travel. Nationalism apartheid is the belief that one is a part of a nation defined as community with its own language, traditions, customs, and history that distinguish it from other nations and make it primary focus of persons' loyalty and sense of identity. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission was set in place after President Mandela took office. This commission allowed victims and perpetrators of gross human rights violations to give statements about their experiences. For example, they could testify about killings, abductions, and tortures that occurred during 1960 through 1994. The reward for telling the truth, the TRC offered perpetrators amnesty from both civil and criminal prosecution. Therefore, a lot of murderers were able to stroll free. Racial policies affected four major race groups, such as black populations, Africans, colored, darker than white, Asians, and whites. Despite the restrictions, Africans were employed as semi-skilled operators during the apartheid. Due to lack of education, Africans were paid less money and they worked the least likable jobs. On the other hand, white males were given the most attractive jobs, paid more money, and they had a noble education. There are several untold testimonies and forgotten struggles of people that fought against racism and the apartheid. Currently, and in the past, there has been numerous protests, marches, speeches, and boycotts in South Africa and around the world. For example, Albert Geiser has faded from the collective memory of the public. He was a fearless fighter against racism, a professor, and a theologist in different universities. Geiser and other like-minded people were firmly convinced that the intention and praxis of apartheid could not be justified either biblically or theologically. Due to his beliefs, he couldn't speak at churches, universities, and events. He continued to fight racism and the apartheid. Some people chose to live in silence instead of talking about the harsh times during the apartheid.